There's a kind of maths some men only do at 2 a.m. You take your age, then you take what you built, and you divide one by the other. By that maths, half the people you grew up with are ahead of you. Some are years ahead. One of them posted about it this week. It's the same maths that runs at weddings and reunions. Every time someone asks, "So what are you up to these days?" and you watch yourself compress 10 complicated necessary years into one apologetic sentence. And they nod and move on. And you stand there holding everything the sentence left out. And the conclusion feels obvious. You're behind. You've always been behind. Some part of you has quietly started to believe that's just what you are, a man permanently a few years short of his own life. But there's a flaw in the maths. It assumes every mind is running the same race, and yours isn't. It never was. Because minds like yours don't bloom on schedule. They bloom late, and there's a mechanism behind it. Once you see it, you'll stop calling those years lost. If this video found you, that's probably not an accident. You're the kind of mind that reads the fine print of everything, including your own life. The kind everyone calls a deep thinker, and nobody calls early. You've watched people with half your depth move at twice your speed, decide faster, commit faster, arrive faster. They picked a lane at 22 and never looked sideways. You've sat with a single question longer than anyone around you could stand. And here's the specific ache nobody names. You can feel what you're capable of. It's not arrogance, it's data. You've felt the weight of your own mind your whole life. What you've never had is a way to show it that fits on a feed. Potential without proof. There's no lonelier currency. So privately, you've wondered, what's wrong with your engine? Why the thing everyone calls promise never converts on schedule? Here's the short answer. Nothing is wrong with it. You're not running a slower version of their mind. You're running a different operating system, and it ships on a different date. And this isn't a pep talk. Pep talks tell you to believe in yourself. This video is going to show you the machinery, why deep minds are structurally built to arrive late, what those invisible years were actually doing, and the one mistake that can still ruin all of it at the last step. Psychology has been circling this for decades. When researchers map how mental abilities change with age, they keep finding the same inconvenient shape. Raw processing speed peaks embarrassingly early, but crystallized intelligence, the deep web of knowledge, judgment, and pattern recognition, keeps climbing for decades. Developmental psychologists found something else. James Marcia called it the difference between identity foreclosure, committing early to a ready-made life, and identity moratorium, the long, uncomfortable search before commitment. The searchers look worse for years, then quite suddenly they don't. And decision science has a name for the whole trade: explore versus exploit. Any intelligent system faces it. Keep searching for the better option, or lock in and extract what you found. Here's the rule that matters. The longer a system explores honestly, the stronger its final position when it finally commits. Deep minds explore by default. You never chose that. It's how the machine was built. Hold those three ideas together, and the shape of your life stops looking like an accident. A mind that processes deeply, refuses ready-made identities, and explores past the point of comfort will look behind in the first half. Not might, will. Nothing malfunctioned. The design just runs on a longer clock. And here's what that design looks like from the inside. 1. Your hesitation was a compass, not a fault. Callum is 34, and by his family's accounting, he has restarted his life 3 times. An apprenticeship he left, a degree he changed halfway, a safe job he walked out of, politely and to everyone's horror. His father stopped asking what the plan was years ago. Now there's just a certain pause at dinner when someone else's son gets mentioned. Callum hears it. He hears everything. That's rather the point of him. But here's what nobody at that table ever saw. The night he quit the safe job, he sat in the car park for an hour first, doing the honest arithmetic. Salary, security, the relief on his mother's face. It all added up, and he still couldn't sign. Each time he tried to hand his whole weight to a life, and something in him refused to close the deal. Not fear, refusal, like a hand that won't sign what the eyes haven't finished reading. That's the part fast minds never have to deal with. A fast mind can commit to a life that mostly fits. A deep mind can't. It runs the full simulation, 10 years in, 20 years in, and if the ending is wrong, it won't start. From the outside, that looks like indecision. It's actually precision that hasn't found its target yet. So if you've left things other people would have stayed in, jobs, paths, relationships with your own future, whole versions of yourself, that wasn't flakiness. That was an instrument doing exactly what it was calibrated to do. Nobody ever told you it was an instrument, so you spent years apologizing for the readings. But that raises an uncomfortable question. If your compass works this well, why do the men who ignored theirs look so much happier? 2. What blooms early is often the costume. Now be careful with this one because it's not a license to sneer at people who found their lane early. Some did the work young, and it's real. But early blooming, as a pattern, usually rewards one specific skill, fitting quickly into a shape somebody else drew. The right course, the right role, the right script, the right applause. Fast adaptation. It's a real skill. It's just not the same thing as becoming someone. You've met the man who won the entire first half, and at 45 sits inside his own life like a stranger in an expensive coat. The house is right, the title is right, and some night between the second drink and the silence, he does his own version of the 2 a.m. maths and can't work out why the numbers say he won. He bloomed early. Look closer. The costume bloomed. He never got to. Because early commitment is usually commitment to a borrowed blueprint. Whose blueprint? His parents, his schools, whatever the men around him happened to be measuring that decade. Foreclosure isn't choosing a life, it's accepting a delivery. Deep minds usually can't wear the costume long enough to be rewarded for it. The seams show, the falseness itches. Your system kept rejecting deliveries it never ordered. So while everyone else was being applauded for fitting, you kept failing at it, at the one thing that was never worth succeeding at. Which leaves the real question. If you weren't building the costume all those years, what were you building? 3. The quiet years were compounding. Owen is 47. On paper, his 20s and 30s were a mess. 2 industries, a shop that failed, years spent reading everything, helping everyone, finishing nothing anyone could photograph. Today, he's the man 4 different people call before any decision that matters, including his old boss. Because none of it evaporated. The wrong lanes taught him how lanes work. The failed shop taught him precisely where businesses break, not where the textbooks say they break, where they actually break, on a Tuesday, over something small. The reading, the noticing, the quiet post-mortems he ran on his own mistakes, all of it was going into the same vault. And here's what the people calling him now can feel, but can't name. Owen has already lived their emergency. Whatever's on fire, he stood in some version of that fire and took notes on the way out. What looks like wisdom is really just inventory. That's crystallized intelligence doing what it does, converting years into judgment, silently, off the books. And notice the trade hiding inside it. The abilities that peak early, speed, recall, raw horsepower, are exactly the ones that fade first. The ability that peaks late is the one that decides everything that matters. Knowing what to do when the situation doesn't match the manual. Surface skills depreciate, depth compounds. Which means a mind like yours isn't late, it's backloaded. You've been paying premiums for decades into an account nobody could see. Not your family, not the group chat, sometimes not even you. The interest arrives in the second half, and it tends to arrive all at once. But not for everyone. Some men build the entire vault and never collect a cent of it. And the reason why is the mistake I warned you about at the start. Before we get there, if any of this is landing, two small things. Subscribe, not for me, so the next one of these finds you on the night you're doing the maths again. And the like button quietly helps this find the next man who needs it. That's genuinely how this works. Now, the mistake. 4. The honest part, what actually kills a late bloom. Because this video isn't here to flatter you. The slowness won't kill it. The failures won't kill it. The years nobody applauded won't kill it. A late blooming mind survives all of that easily. What it often doesn't survive is the audit. The audit is the habit of rechecking your life against someone else's balance sheet, reopening the ledger at 2 a.m., recounting the same years and stamping them wasted. You know the entries by heart. The degree that took too long, the decade that doesn't summarize, the thing you almost started. Run that audit long enough and it hardens into something worse than regret, a quiet resentment of your own story. And resentment is expensive in a way regret never is. Regret visits, resentment moves in. It sits between you and every new attempt, whispering the same line. Why bother? You're already too late. Worse, the audit is a shapeshifter. Some nights it wears the costume of motivation. This year I'll finally catch up. This year I'll prove them wrong. Sounds like drive. It's still the same ledger. Anything you build to win an argument with your own past is built on the wrong foundation. And some part of you knows it, which is why it never quite starts. And here's the mechanism nobody warns you about. A mind at war with its own past can't use anything the past built. The pattern library, the judgment, the hard-won inventory, all of it is filed inside years you've labeled shameful, so the mind won't go in there. The vault is full. The door is bitterness. That's the real tragedy with men like this. They did the long, expensive build, then refused to move in. There are men of 70 still running the audit, still measuring themselves against a schedule drawn for shallower ground. The maths never comes out. It was never going to. It's the wrong maths, so here's the right one. 5. Not late, deep. So here's the reframe this whole video has been walking toward, and it isn't a consolation prize. It's just a more accurate picture. In the ocean, the surface currents are fast. They catch the light. They're what everyone photographs. They're also thin, a skin of water pushed around by whatever wind is blowing that week. The deep currents are different. They move slowly. Some take years to cross an ocean. No one sees them. No wind touches them. And they carry almost the entire ocean when they come. The speed was never the measure. The volume was. Your mind is a deep current. It was always going to arrive later than the surface, and it was always going to arrive carrying more. That's not spin. That's the physics of depth. Ray opened his workshop at 52, when everyone had politely stopped expecting anything from him. 30 years of jobs that didn't stick, ideas that didn't land, and a reputation as the clever one who never quite converted. Then he opened the doors, and it held from the first year. Supplier trouble, a recession, a partner walking out, none of it cracked the thing. His son once asked how he always knew what to do. Ray thought about it for a long moment and said, I'd already met every one of these problems. I just hadn't opened yet. So what do you actually do with this? 3 moves, all practical. First, close the audit. Tonight if you can. You're allowed to stop recounting. Those years are not evidence against you. They're the construction record. Same years, same facts, different document. Second, put your weight down. Somewhere in all that exploring, there's one lane your simulations keep approving, the one you keep circling back to when nobody's assigning it. Deep minds over-explore, long past the point of knowing. When the compass stops spinning, commit before you feel ready. For minds like yours, ready arrives after commitment, not before. It was never going to arrive first. Third, go where depth is priced in. Some rooms pay for speed and polish. You will always lose in those rooms, and losing there means nothing. Other rooms, the ones where the stakes are real and the problems don't fit a manual, pay for judgment. Long games, things that have to hold. Stop discounting your work in rooms built for sprinters. So, the 2 a.m. maths. Run it one last time with the real numbers. You weren't dividing your age by what you'd built. You were dividing it by what could be seen. And deep water doesn't photograph well. The people who were years ahead were ahead on the surface measure, and the surface was the only place anyone was pointing a camera. You were never on the surface. The restarts were the compass working. The quiet years were the vault filling. The waiting was the current crossing. You arrive late, and you arrive whole, and those were always the same fact. You didn't fall behind, you went deep, and the ocean is about to find out what that means. If somewhere in this you recognized yourself or another man you know who's still mid-build, leave one honest line in the comments. Some man in the middle of his quiet years is going to read it at 2 a.m. instead of doing the maths, and he will appreciate your support. That's the whole point of this channel. And don't leave yet. There's another one of these waiting right there about the way minds like yours actually work. If this video saw you, that one will too. I'll see you in it.